Hello and welcome to LSJ Sports End of Season Review. I'm Samuel Gilbert. Join me for the next 25 minutes for a comprehensive look back at all the sport in Lincoln this year and what to expect this summer. Coming up on today's show, thousands of fans took to the streets of Lincoln to celebrate the Imps' historic season. We'll look back at just how they did it. After avoiding relegation in his first few months working with Dave Frecklington, we speak to Gainsborough assistant manager Terry Fleming about avoiding the drop. And we'll look back at Lincoln United's season with Sam Wilkinson joining me in the studio for a chat about his first year in charge. Where else could we start but with Lincoln City's remarkable season? The Imps have been crowned National League champions and will return to the Football League next season after a 6-year absence. Around 1 year ago, manager Danny Cowley left Braintree Town and gave up his role as a PE teacher to manage the club full-time, bringing in his brother Nicky as assistant. Nobody could have predicted the success that the pair would bring in just their first season in full-time management.
So, without further ado, can I introduce Danny and Nicky Cowley?
Danny and Nicky Cowley stepped into the shoes that were left by Lincoln City favourite Chris Moises. Danny promised he would breed a winning culture at the club and that fans had been wrongly starved of success for too many years.
It hasn't had as much success as it should have done in recent years. We enjoy winning, we expect to win, and we'll be looking to try to bring a winning culture to the club and try to have lots of success and lots of fun.
A 17-match unbeaten run in all competitions, which stretched over October, November and December, included a dramatic 3-2 victory against Forest Green Rovers. Coming from 2 goals down, the Imps fought back, with the win sparking hopes of a title challenge, as they realised they can match the league's best.
That's not the first time this season that we've recovered from a deficit, and not the first time this season that we've managed to score in the dying moments of games. And just sitting there, that's not luck. That's credit to the players in terms of their physical fitness, but also in terms of their determination and resilience, and they're good qualities to have.
A hard-fought 3-2 victory against Woking at the start of February ensured that the Imps would already finish the season with more points than they did in the previous campaign under Chris Moises.
Balls to Deacon. Gets a shot!
Talk of the title was however soon put on ice, as Rory Deacon scored in the 93rd minute to rescue a point for Sutton United when Lincoln visited at the end of March. However, 6 wins in a row put the Imps' title future back into their own hands. A victory in their final home game of the season against Macclesfield would confirm Lincoln as champions. But the game started poorly for Lincoln, as it seemed the visitors had failed to read the script. Mitch Hancock put Macclesfield in front after 20 minutes. Lincoln responded just 10 minutes later as Hawkridge pounced on the loose ball after Angle's initial shot was parried.
Lincoln City back on terms.
Hawkridge sealed his brace with a low finish into the far corner. The goal sparked scenes of jubilation at Sincil Bank as over 10,000 fans watched as Lincoln confirmed their status as a Football League club for next season.
Champions! Lincoln City are heading back to the Football League. Lincoln City are National League champions. The Imps are finally back in the Football League.
We believe in our skill set, we believe in our work ethic, and we felt that this could be a really big club. You know, it hasn't had the success that it deserves, and it felt like a good time to join. And we just tried to bring a work ethic and an enthusiasm. That's all we've tried to do.
Back-to-back away draws to Maidstone and Southport is how the Imps finished their campaign in the National League, ending on 99 points, 4 ahead of Tranmere Rovers in second place. Thousands of jubilant Imps fans lined the streets to watch the open-top bus parade as the city celebrated. Imps fans will believe that with the Cowleys in charge, the side can become a real force once again in the Football League. So, after a remarkable league campaign for Lincoln, our reporter, Elliot Spurgeon, joins me now in the studio to reflect on what was also a historic and memorable FA Cup run for the Imps. So Elliot, where do we start?
Well Sam, the Imps Cup run was nearly over before it even really began. The journey started way back in October when the Imps drew 0-0 against Guiseley at Sincil Bank. The Imps managed a 2-1 win in the replay in front of just 765 fans, a very small number in comparison to the amount that they would be getting at the end of the run.
So, after Cowley's side just narrowly got past Guiseley, what faced them in the next round?
Another victory against Altrincham then followed. Goals from Sean Raggy and Alan Power secured a 2-1 win, and it secured their place in the second round for the first time since 2012. This was when the journey started to pick up some real pace.
So, after beating opposition that you would expect the Imps to do fairly well against, what faced them in the next round?
Well, Lincoln beat Oldham 3-2 in the second round. A goal from Terry Hawkridge and Theo Robinson made Theo the FA Cup's top scorer in front of talents such as Harry Kane and Sergio Aguero.
A non-league club now, and for us to carry 7,000 supporters is beyond, I think, all of our wildest expectations. And I think credit to the players because they've got people in the city believing again, and you know, hopefully the people that come tonight, the extra 3,000, enjoyed that, and hopefully they come again.
So we saw Cowley discussing the victory over Oldham there, and that wasn't the only team that's actually in a league above the Imps that they had to face, is it?
Well, by this time, cup fever had well and truly gripped the city. The National League side was set to take on Championship leaders Brighton in the fourth round, and people of the city couldn't get enough. Queues were beginning from as early as 5 AM just to get tickets to the game. Having fallen behind early and the Imps fought back, Theo Robinson scored yet another goal to secure their place in the fifth round. Lincoln's celebrations were soon halted though, as Robinson, following his performance in the FA Cup, was snapped up by Southend United.
So despite the loss of Robinson, the Imps have overcome Brighton. What could possibly come next?
Having been drawn against Premier League side Burnley, Imps fans were disappointed not to get the glamour tie of Manchester United or Liverpool. However, fans also knew that this was the real chance for them to become the first non-league side to reach a quarter-final since 1913. As more than 3,000 fans travelled to Turf Moor, what dubbed as Impvasion, Sean Raggett scored a dramatic last-minute header, as history was made. The draw for the quarter-finals came around and the city held its breath in anticipation.
Number 1.
It was to beat Arsenal or
Lincoln
Sutton
City.
United. The fans were ecstatic at the opportunity to visit Emirates Stadium in the quarter-final of the FA Cup. Invasion hit an all-time high as more than 9,000 fans travelled down to the North London Giants. After a confident start from Lincoln, an upset looked to be a possibility. Until Walcott ended the deadlock just before half-time, City struggled to match Arsenal's fitness levels in the second half and conceded 4 more goals before the final whistle, as Alexis Sanchez and Aaron Ramsey both scored past the Imps. As the players fell short on the pitch, the travelling fans most definitely won the day.
So you saw world-class players play today in the Arsenal team, but you also heard and witnessed world-class supporters, because that's how good they were. Because 9,000 of them outsung 51,000 Arsenal supporters today, and that is a fact.
So a disappointing result for Cowley's side against Arsenal, but Premier League opposition against National League opposition, what can you expect? But the Imps did manage to get some scalps during the FA Cup run, Burnley, Ipswich, Brighton. So how can they look back on this?
Well, in the end it wasn't to be for the Imps, but this year's FA Cup will definitely be remembered as the one that Lincoln City made history.
Thank you for that, Elliot. Now, everybody thought we were going down. That was the message from Gainsborough Trinity assistant manager Terry Fleming after they avoided the drop by just 1 point. Alongside former Lincoln United boss Dave Frecklington, Fleming also made the step up from Spalding United to National League North side Gainsborough in February. Elliot Dalton spoke to Fleming about his first 4 months at Gainsborough and the ambitions of the club.
Yeah, all in all it was an easy decision, just for the level that Gainsborough are at. Conference North is it's a challenging league that they're playing in. Even though they were languishing near the bottom and Spalding were at the top, you know, it wasn't a second thought. Once we knew that we had the opportunity to go to Gainsborough, it was an easy decision to make.
You got a big win against Salford, and then you got a really big point against Kidderminster that ultimately kept you in the league. That must have been really proud for yourself and Dave.
It was, because when we looked at the fixtures when we took over, it was, you know, we were playing the top 13 teams in the league. We didn't have the luxury of playing the teams in and around us where if you win, you go 6 points clear of that team. We didn't have that luxury, so we were playing against tough teams. It was unfortunate not to get anything from the earlier games. Like I said before, the Salford win was massive. You know, everyone, by this time, everyone had basically said that we were down, you know, through social media, through, you know, friends and people outside of the Gainsborough Trinity community. Everyone thought we was down. So that Salford game came up. We played really well. We got the much needed 3 points. Again, they're still writing us off when Kidderminster came to Gainsborough. You know, we went 1-0 up in that game. Unfortunate not to get all 3, but we got the point, which was fantastic. They were flying high. They were going for promotion at the time. But me and the gaffer said, you know, we never know, that point might keep us in the league. And, you know, it all ended up that it did.
The point against Kidderminster put you in the driving seat ahead of Worcester. What were the thoughts? Were you confident going into it?
We had it all in our hands, which is fantastic for us, but psychologically it was probably mentally draining for them. So going into that last game, we knew if we won, we would stay up. We didn't, but, you know, unfortunately, Worcester didn't win either.
And heading into the summer, you've not really had a moment's rest. You've made quite a few summer signings already. It shows quite a statement of intent.
Yeah, we've got, you know, we want to be competitive. We don't want to be languishing near the bottom, but we know it's going to be difficult. And if we can assemble a good squad, you know, hopefully we can finish higher than we did than last season.
It was all changed at Lincoln United this year. Dave Frecklington stepped aside at the end of last season after the Whites were just beaten in the playoff semi-finals. This left the manager's position open for former player and assistant manager Sam Wilkinson to take the reins.
Get close to him!
Having once stood alongside Dave Frecklington in the dugout, it was Sam Wilkinson who would attempt to lead the Whites as they looked to go one better than last year's playoff heartbreak. United's campaign got off to a good start as they lost just 2 of their first 13 matches in all competitions, and the new boss had his sights well set on a lucrative playoff position.
When you get there, you get so close, you think, can we do it again? So yeah, you'd like to think so. And from our point of view, management side, we want to go the next step. But we know it's going to be really tough this year.
The impressive results continued for the Whites. A dramatic 2-1 FA Cup victory against Nuneaton Town, a standout performance during the run. However, that good start of the season was soon undone after a torrid run of results at the end of 2016. A 1-0 away defeat to Spalding United compounded the Whites to yet more disappointment. The match remembered for this calamitous own goal from skipper Michael Jacklin, an important player for the side who would later depart the club alongside Jack McGovern. The pair both joining up once more with former boss Dave Frecklington at Gainsborough Trinity. The Whites' results did improve towards the end of the campaign, but performances were still disappointing supporters.
Terrible to watch. Anyone watching tonight will not want to be coming back after that. Difficult conditions, in all fairness. The wind did play its part and didn't help either team. The pitch was a bit tacky and it was hard for us to try to play, so we decided to go long, but then obviously the wind didn't help that. But you know, that's no excuse. It was the same for both teams.
Lincoln United ended the season 8th in the table with 65 points, leaving Sam Wilkinson in his first season to think what could have been had their mid-season form been better. So it was another case of close but not close enough for the Whites, as they fell 6 points short of the playoffs this year. To talk about his first season in charge and the club's future moving forward, I'm delighted to say I'm now joined in the studio by Lincoln United manager Sam Wilkinson. So how are you, Sam?
I'm alright, Sam, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. So let's go back to the end of last season. Dave Frecklington announced he would be leaving the club. Obviously, you had spent the year working alongside him as assistant manager. So when the full-time job became available, was it something you were always looking to take charge of?
Not really, not initially. I was happy being assistant. You don't have to make as many decisions being the assistant. So no, not really. But then after a week or so thinking about it, I thought, you know, why not? Let's give it a go.
Just looking sort of at the season as a whole, you had some really good runs. Like, for example, you had a really good FA Cup run. You almost reached the first round proper.
Yeah.
So it included a really impressive 2-1 victory against Nuneaton.
Yeah.
So how was that whole sort of FA Cup experience?
Yeah, all the cup competitions this year was a real great effort from the lads. The Nuneaton game was especially good because the two leagues are higher than us. It was a great scalp. So yeah, the cup runs was very good. You know, we're a little bit disappointed with the league, but delighted with the cup runs.
So sort of alongside the positives that you had this season,
yeah.
Also a few low points, including January, where the side went through a particularly difficult period. Is there anything when you're sort of looking back that you in particular could have done differently during that period? Because you picked up a few more points here and there during that January. Ultimately, you could have ended up in the playoffs. Yeah,
well, I mean, two wins in January would have got us in the playoffs. So we'll look back at that. There was also, we lost to Northwich at home early in the season, Romulus twice, Loughborough away, teams near the bottom who we should be doing better against. So we could look back at a lot of things, but the 7 games in January was far too much. It wasn't acceptable.
Absolutely, and not to keep sort of bring up the negatives. I promise it will get better. But on top of those difficult results, you also lost a few important players in January, including your captain Michael Jacklin and McGovern. So how much of a blow is it to lose those players?
A massive blow. At the key stage of the season when we're challenging for the playoffs, to lose your captain and then your top scorer. And then 2 weeks after that, we lost Connor Robinson through injury. It's sort of, at that stage of the season, you need everyone fully fit and fighting for 3 points week in, week out. And we, losing 2 players, we didn't have time to bring anyone else in. And then losing Connor again, who was our main striker at the time, was a massive blow to our hopes to get in the playoffs, definitely.
How would you sort of reflect on your first season in management then? I'm sure there were a few sleepless nights, but then a few really enjoyable moments. So how do you sort of look back on the season as a whole?
Well, it's probably my most enjoyable season in football, in all fairness. Apart from the stress and the sleepless nights, as you say, there is a lot more of that, but I've actually enjoyed it so much, actually making the decisions. Obviously a little bit disappointed with how the league finished, but again, when you look at how the season progressed, we had a lot of players in and out. It was not quite a rebuild job, but we had to, when you lose players like Jacklin and McGovern, it's so hard to bring other players in. And for us to still actually be challenging with 2 games to go was, it was a good effort. We just couldn't get over the line. I think we won 1 out of the last 5. If you want to get in the playoffs, it's not good enough really. So a little bit disappointed, but I look at it overall, it's been a really good season. I think the majority of the players have enjoyed it, and that which should stand us in good stead to keep them for next year.
Have you set any particular targets for next season then? Obviously just short of the playoffs this season, which is very disappointing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So is it something playoffs next season?
Top 5 is our main aim, definitely. And we think we can do that with a little bit more experience. The younger lads have done really well this year, and another year next year, and learn from our mistakes and learn from the January, if you like.
And just finally, Sam, I'm sure it's been a stressful long year for you. How are you going to enjoy your time off this summer?
Well, you don't really get a lot of time off, to be honest. It's been quite busy this week, trying to speak to players, try to get pre-season friendly sorted, get sort of speaking to the board about the budget still, trying to get things finalised for next year. So I'll have a week off the end of May, and then that'll probably be it. So not really a lot of relaxation, but it keeps me busy anyway.
Thank you for that, Sam.
It's okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And still to come, later in the show, Lindham Cricket Club season has started. Find out how they're bringing through young talent in the hope of another successful season. We'll look back at the season for Lindham Hockey Club with an exclusive interview with a hopeful future England player, Robert Johnstone. Hear from Olympic gold medalist Helen Richardson-Walsh and her thoughts on Sporting Lincoln and Rio 2016. Lindum Cricket Club began their 2017 campaign with a disappointing away defeat at Grantham in their first game of the season. Lindum achieved a top 4 finish last year and were looking to get their first 10 points of the season against Market Deepin in their first home match of the year. Elliot Spurgeon went along to the Lindum Sports Ground to find out how they got on and get all the reaction as the season begins.
As the sun begins to shine on Lindum Sports Ground, it can only mean the beginning of the local cricketing season. There is a real air of optimism surrounding Lindum's first team as the Lincolnshire Premier League season gets underway. Lindum began their 2017 season with a loss away at Grantham. However, they plan to bounce back today against Market Deepin in the hope to further improve on their strong season last year. After losing a few players at the end of last season, they hope their new recruits from the youth setup will allow them to fight for the title this time round.
I think we can be as competitive, to be honest with you, with the talent we've got, but it's more we've got to play more as a team, not rely on one or two outstanding cricketers. Everyone's got to step up. So I'm hoping 4th is still achievable, but we've got to be realistic and we've just got to play as a unit, really.
Moving up to the first team this summer is Ewan Pickering. He has played for Lindum for his entire youth career and is now starting to break into the first 11. Ewan praised the youth setup for bringing many players through the ranks and into Lindum's first team.
Lindum is very, very good. Start from under 9s and we have under 17 teams as an under 19 tournament. The coaches are brilliant, they're here every week. It's really good quality coaching actually, and it's worked well because nearly all of the first team and second teamers have come up through the ranks, so it's very successful.
Lindum bowled Market Deepin out for 60 runs and went on to win the match, proving that the first team are hoping to make an impact in the Lincolnshire Premier League this season. Elliot Spurgeon, LSJ Sport, Lindum Sports Ground.
It was a turbulent season for Lindum Hockey Club's men's first team, as they finished 6th in the North Hockey Division 1. They set their sights on challenging for the top 3 places at the start of the year, and despite some good results, they ended up falling just short. Elliot Dalton looks back at their season.
Lindum's season started poorly despite a 6-0 rout of the University of Liverpool in October. They picked up just 1 win from their first 6 games before beating Lancaster and Morecambe 5-3 and commencing an 8-game streak where they lost just 1 game, including this draw against Neston South Wirral, with the equaliser coming with the last hit of the game. But it all came crashing down at the end of January, with this 5-1 loss to Harrogate sparking a 4-game losing streak. They recovered to beat Alderley Edge 5-2 in their penultimate home game, with top goal scorer Robert Johnston claiming a hat-trick, just 3 of his 23 goals this season. Lindum finished in 6th, but for first team coach Gary Johnson it could have, or maybe should have, been better.
I think generally I'm satisfied with the league position that we were and the improvements that we made on last year. But I think also there's a slight disappointment in there. There were times when we played some excellent hockey and we looked unbeatable, and then there were other times where people probably questioned how we're in that league. 4-0 up at home against Chapeltown and losing 5-4 was probably one of the worst moments of my coaching career, if I'm honest with you. It's that hurt, and it hurt the team for a couple of weeks, and we didn't really recover from that.
So going into next season, what are the targets and what are you looking to improve on mainly to try and avoid those near misses next season?
Bolster the squad will be really good. Bring in a few more youngsters as well to try and have that bond between the experience and the youth, and get promotion. Ultimately, we're in our 3rd season in Division 1 and there should be no excuses now. We know exactly what we're up against.
One man who has his sights set higher than promotion is top goal scorer and 16-year-old Robert Johnston. He is hoping of selection for England under-18s, and this coming season is his final chance to do so.
It's like the England setup, so there's 24 of us at the Performance Centre camp. We play against other performance centres in the north, and then you get selected for Future Cup, where the selection for England under-18s takes place.
Is that one of your targets then, getting to the England under-18s? How likely do you think that is, or how far away is it?
I think it's quite likely this year, hopefully. So it's my last year at England under-18s anyway, so I'm hoping to get there.
As the sun sets on another season for Lindham Hockey Club, they gear up for the next one, hoping to go one better than the last. Elliot Dalton, LSJ Sports, Lindham Hockey Ground.
One of the biggest events in the British cycling calendar took place in Lincoln last weekend. Thousands of people visited Lincoln for the Festival of Cycling, which brought nearly £1 million to the local economy. Elliot Spurgeon reported on all the action at the festival.
Nearly 18,000 people descended on historical Lincoln last weekend for another landmark event filled with elite cycle races. This year's festival consisted of the Criterium, the GP Sportive, the Uphill Dash and Britain's oldest classic one-day cycle race, the Lincoln Grand Prix. Fans came out in their thousands to cheer on the cyclists, tackling the gruelling Michaelgate Hill in the 103-mile Grand Prix, which saw Ian Bibby take the trophy. There were even four-legged fans who turned up to support the cyclists. Festival organiser Dan Elmore reflected on a successful weekend after the event.
Been very pleased with the with the way it all went, and with the support that we've had from the people from Lincoln and everybody who are all over the country who came to see it. We had a huge crowd, so we're looking at 18,000 people across the 4-day event. So that's an enormous amount of people to bring to Lincoln, and 2,000 cyclists on top of that as well. So we're confident of a very good boost to the local economy.
The popularity of cycling has changed rapidly in the past 5 years. Much of that is down to the success of the Team GB Olympic cycling team. Team GB cycling team won 6 golds at Rio 2016 and 8 golds at London 2012, which proves the country's dominance in the sport.
I was looking back across the video footage from the last 10 years now, which we've got on the website for the event, and the crowds have just grown and grown. The Olympic success has meant that cycling is not a niche sport anymore. It's more of a mainstream sport. Obviously not as big as football, but it's certainly growing, and that just means that more people want to take part in it, or just are aware of it, so want to come and watch.
Fans received an exciting weekend of cycling, and Lincoln received a boost in tourism from the event, proving that Lincoln Festival of Cycling was a real winner for the city. Elliot Spurgeon, LSJ Sport, Lincoln.
And finally, sporting talent at the University of Lincoln was celebrated last week at the inaugural We Are Lincoln Awards. Olympic hockey gold medalist Helen Richardson-Walsh was a special guest on the night and gave an inspiring speech, as well as presenting awards to teams and individuals. Elliot Dalton was at the event and spoke to the Olympian about sport in Lincoln and her successes at Rio 2016.
Being here tonight and listening to the stories that have come out of all the different sports teams and societies, and it's not necessarily what you achieve from the outside. I think hearing some of the stories, and particularly the last story for the Pride of Lincoln, how teams come together and how they support each other and how they bring the best out in each other, that is what is incredible about teams. I think every university I think has some incredible teams, as I've seen here as well tonight with Lincoln. Unfortunately, I've not been able to actually get out into Lincoln and have a look at the town. Or is it a city? City.
It's a city,
It's
yeah.
got a cathedral. But I can see from tonight that the university is really strong, it's thriving, the people in it are really enjoying themselves and having a good time, and that is, at the end of the day, is the main thing. So it's very incredible. Kind of been chasing an Olympic gold medal since 2000, so quite a long time, and to finally have this is very, very special. To be able to look at that, it holds a lot of blood, sweat and many, many tears. It's incredibly special.
Well, that's all we've got time for. But be sure to follow us on Twitter to keep up to date with all the sporting news in Lincoln. And there's nothing else more to say, but have a great summer. Goodbye.